turn this around. And that in a couple of years, in fact, when I'm up for election in 2014, that we're standing here talking about the issues that are important, like jobs and economic development, rather than talking about ethics and you know, the challenges of our judgment. I think that in a couple of years, we will have begun to rebuild that trust, and that it will really be only a short amount of time, and we will start to regain that level that we were at, where people really liked the council and recognized that the council was the better branch of the government. So those are some of the issues as I see them. I appreciate that you all are here. Franklin, again, thank you for all of your work putting this together. And your mother, wherever she is, I hope she's not in the kitchen. I hope she's cooking. And I'm happy to take some questions.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there are a few other questions. My question deals with budget autonomy for our city.
Yeah.
I've always been very jealous that the Congress always controls our budget and our destiny is in the hands of strangers because we didn't elect them. What is your interpretation of budget autonomy, and so that the people here understand what that's all about?
Well, the goal here is that we should have as much self-determination as possible. And we don't have that because Congress has the ability to overturn our laws, and Congress still holds on to some of the processes. So we don't have a vote in either house of the Congress. Our budget, the mayor proposes it. He has to start working on it now for a year from now, and he will send it to the council in March. Then after we pass it, no, we can't do anything with it. We can't spend a penny of it. It has to go to the Congress. And it becomes one of the appropriation acts, which if you read about Congress, they haven't passed a single appropriation act this year. And that's where it goes. And then when Congress gets into this little fight, food fight with each other, and they shut down the federal government, well, they shut us down too. So budget autonomy is about us being able to adopt our own budget. And the theory behind the latest proposal, which I introduced, is that we have the ability to amend laws in the district, and we do it all the time. And we send those, when we pass a bill, we send it to Congress for 30 days. If it's criminal, it goes for 60 days. If they don't disapprove it, then it becomes the law. And the proposal, which I introduced, is we do the same thing with the budget. That we pass it as an act, require 2 votes by the council, signed by the mayor, and then Congress gets 30 days to decide whether to disapprove of it. They never have. What they do is they use the budget to attach riders, whatever's on their mind, you know, if we have control of our own budget, they don't have the ability to do the riders. They're going to have to do these amendments straight up, pass it, you know, introduce a bill and pass it, rather than what they're doing now, which is to slip it onto our appropriation. So that's what budget autonomy is. The process is similar to what we did for electing the Attorney General. That was an amendment to the Home Rule Act. It will become effective with the election in 2014 when the Attorney General will have to run. And basically the council passed and the mayor signed, and then it went to the voters in a referendum, because that's one way to amend the Home Rule Act. The voters overwhelmingly approved the amendment to make the Attorney General elected. And I think that's what will happen with budget autonomy, is the council will pass it, and it will go to a referendum next spring. And if the voters pass it, which I think they will, then it goes to Congress, and they get 35 days to decide whether to disapprove it, which I don't think they will. And if they don't, then we have the ability to adopt our own budget, and Congress always has the ability to pass a law anytime they want to. If they don't like us spending money on the police department, they can pass a bill to shut it down. I don't think they will. I think they'll support what we're done, because they never, that I can think of, I don't remember them ever changing a single dollar in the budget that we pass. But thank you for asking that question.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, first of all, you are very much aware of the history of the Latino community here in the District of Columbia. And usually when we Latinos gather together, we start our history just to make sure everybody's on the same page from the riot of 1991. When, as you know, the issue was lack of participation of Latino within the everyday life of the city in so many ways. Language access was one of the main things. Another thing was the lack of job opportunities within the government and also in other areas, and lack of providing services from the ground up with nonprofit organizations. We're gonna a long way in coming in organizing ourselves, and we are at the point now that we believe that we're gathered together in a way that we can be useful. And I'm so glad you're talking about the issue of accountability and also oversight, because I think that's where we all can help each other from our perspective in terms of getting more access to job opportunities to Latinos within the city, and also language access of the services of the government, of the city government, the DC government, toward the community. Do you think, how do you envision yourself working with the Latino community, and at least some of those issues? I know that Julia and Franklin and others could talk about the DREAM Act and other legislative issues they're very concerned for ours, but at the same time, in terms of accountability and enforcement about the language access and the job opportunities for Latinos in the DC government.
Well, you threw a lot out there. Let me see how. First of all, I think the government's done a lousy job for decades with regard to helping people get jobs. What we do is we have the Department of Employment Services, and then we have employers, and then the council passes a law that says, hire people, and then we expect it all to work. And that's really not a very effective way of making it work. I think what Mayor Gray is doing, which is actually trying to work with businesses. What do you need? Actually, we think maybe we can help you with getting these employees, and then going over to the Department of Employment Services and saying, let's match some of these people who are looking for work with these companies that we're working with. So the government's more hands-on and actually matching. A little bit more work for us, I should say for them, meaning the executive branch, but then people are getting hired, and that's what we need to be doing. We also need, I kind of touched on this, we need to be working with businesses, particularly small businesses, identifying what hurdles they have with regard to hiring residents, and identifying what hurdles they have, and in that way, making it easier for businesses to be able to hire DC residents. We can't just be passive, which is what we've done. You mentioned the DREAM Act. I just introduced the Sense of the Council resolution, which I may put on the agenda for November. Sense of the council to urge Congress to pass the DREAM Act. So, they don't listen to us, but I think every piece helps. Other cities have done this, and I think the more noise we add in support of the DREAM Act, the more chance we have of changing the politics so that the DREAM Act actually gets through. There were some other things you tossed out there.
Language access.
Language access.
You supported the
Yes, we passed that law. Part of my approach toward being a council member is to be accessible. I think that's important, and that means, and some of the folks in this room know this firsthand, that when there's an issue, you come to me and talk to me about it, so that I realize there's a problem. So the Language Access Act, I do know that there are reports that are required every year, and I asked some of the public safety agencies as part of our oversight, what are you doing? When I hear that there's an agency that's not complying with the law. For instance, the Office of Administrative Hearings a few years ago was not doing a very good job with providing interpreter services. And so I worked with the Office of Administrative Hearings. We actually put some money in the budget. But I have to hear about the problem before I can then address it. And that's why it's important to me to have an open door to hear. And some of the folks in this room who have lobbied on these issues know you talk to me and I will be helpful with that. The other piece, you didn't really say this, but those riots, I think part of it was also police frustration. Frustration rather with the police, that's what I mean. And I don't want to see that. To my way of thinking, police effectively when they have the support of the community. And that means that folks in the community can't be frustrated, and it also means that the police have got to be sensitive to whatever the concerns are of a particular community. Whether it's Mount Pleasant, the community of that, or the community of Anacostia, whatever. And there are many different communities in the city, which I enjoy because I think it's what makes the city very interesting. So the sensitivity on the part of police is important, and I think that was a problem which gave rise to those riots. The last thing I want to say is that I represent the City Council at the Council of Governments, and a few years ago we had a speaker, an academician who's done a lot of research with regard to cities and what makes cities successful economically. And one of the points that he made, which has stuck with me, is diversity is important to a city's ability to develop economically. Now why? Because we all feel good when there's diversity? No, because employers have a broader employment base when there's diversity. If we're an intolerant community, just to kind of state the extreme, and we only want white Anglo-Saxon males living in the city, then we've limited our workforce. And it's not as an attractive place for employers. But when we embrace diversity and we say we really welcome everybody, whatever their ethnic origin or whatever their sexual orientation or whatever. I mean, I've been dealing with ex-offenders. That when we welcome people, then there's a larger employment base, and that makes the city more attractive to employers.
Oh,
And that was a long answer.
Yeah, let's open it up. I don't know how much time you got.
Mr. Mayor, there's a,
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
There's a tweet that just came through about 5 minutes ago. It says, Jim Graham investigation to test DC Council ethics standards. Are you investigating Jim? What is this about?
I'm not investigating Jim. There was a press conference this morning in which I was asked whether I was going to go off to the new ethics office